Most people think when they think global strategy, they think US, and then let's go to South America.
Mhm.
Let's go to Europe. And as I was prepping for the show today, I don't think many of our listeners and viewers would know that Red Bull is not a US company. Red Bull is actually Austrian.
Uh-huh.
And they came to the US. So, kind of reverse. So it's interesting to think about, many of the brands that you and I have worked on, it's been bringing this brand, to Europe, to whatever it might be. But there are some reverse engineer brands out there, everyone, that have come to us as well. So I just thought that was a little interesting point of information there because I didn't know it before I was studying for this.
Yeah, that is interesting.
But how when you are really defining a global brand strategy, how do you adapt the national brand's identity and messaging to the worldwide audience, but while maintaining its, the core essence of the brand?
Yeah, I think there's actually three pieces that I would recommend. As you mentioned, it's important to clarify kind of the core brand essence and, define what your why is. I mean, it's so important to, to define that and make sure that you stay true to that. I also feel like, you need to focus on the aspects of your brand identity that have universal relevance, such as the emotional benefits, whether it's trust, joy, innovation, rather than just the functional ones.
Right.
The second area I think is understanding cultural norms, making sure you take time to research the local markets and understand kind of cultural sensitivities. And then the third is to just maintain visual consistency with flexibility. So you want to make sure that wherever your brand is throughout the world, that there's visual consistency, that it looks like your organization, that it looks like your brand. It follows like elements like color schemes, fonts, and you're reinforcing your brand recognition across all different markets.
Have you ever run into a scenario where a brand, had to change up its brand in the US first in order to go global because it was not, the colors may have been a total mismatch for South America or France. And they, in order to really get that strategy right out of the chute, they needed to kind of clean things up here first.
Not on the US side, but I've done it on the flip side where I've worked for an organization that had a huge market in Asia and we had to shift up our color palette because it was primarily red. And
Yep.
that was very offensive over there, which I learned the hard way. And it was, like figuring out what kind of colors were going to be appropriate for that culture and making sure that we weren't offending anybody by going to market with the wrong um, logo, with the wrong color scheme, with the wrong identity, if you will.
Well, you bring up so many good points there because I think quite often people think, okay, it's just the message that we have
Mhm.
to take a look at. But it's far, far more than that. And it becomes very, very important to make sure that it can be successful all around. Of the three elements that you just shared with us, what do you feel is probably the most difficult to get right in order to be successful globally?
Um, the three elements that I originally called out or just with the
Yeah.
logo. Okay. I feel like understanding the cultural nuances. I
Yeah.
think we as Americans just assume that everybody interacts and behaves the way that we do, but when we're interacting with the different cultures, there's areas of our behaviors or our approaches that can be seen as aggressive or just not accepted in other cultures. So it's understanding kind of how you're being perceived in different markets and making sure that you're addressing those cultural norms.